In June of 1947, ships crossing the Strait of Malacca picked up a frantic Morse code message. It came from a Dutch freighter called the Ourang Medan. The signal was broken and desperate. All officers, including captain, dead. Lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. Then, after a burst of unintelligible code, came a final chilling line, "I die." And then, nothing but silence. Whatever had happened aboard that ship, it had unfolded fast, and it had left one terrified man alone at the radio, tapping out his last words to the world. 2 American merchant vessels reportedly heard the call, along with several shore stations. One of them, the Silver Star, changed course to investigate. Rescue at sea was a sacred duty, and the crew expected to find a ship in flames or sinking beneath the waves. Instead, as they approached the coordinates, they found the Ourang Medan floating perfectly still. There was no smoke, no fire, no sign of damage. She sat low and quiet on the water, drifting without direction, as if the sea itself had stopped to hold its breath. The Silver Star pulled alongside and hailed the freighter. No answer came. A boarding party was assembled and rowed across the calm water. When they climbed onto the deck, they stepped into a nightmare. Bodies lay everywhere, sprawled across the boards, slumped against railings, frozen in place. The crew of the Ourang Medan were all dead. But it was not the death that unsettled the rescuers. It was the expressions. Every face was twisted in horror, eyes wide open, mouths agape, arms reaching toward something that was no longer there. According to the account, the bodies showed no visible wounds. There was no blood, no evidence of struggle, no clue as to what had killed them. In the chart room, the captain lay dead. On the bridge, more corpses. Down in the radio room, they found the operator still sitting at his post, his hand near the transmitter, his face locked in the same expression of terror as all the others. Even the ship's dog was dead, teeth bared in a final snarl. The rescuers noticed a strange chill in the lower decks, despite the tropical heat outside. The boarding party did not linger. Something about the ship felt deeply wrong. They decided to tow the Ourang Medan back to port so that investigators could examine the bodies and search for answers. A line was rigged between the two vessels, and the Silver Star began to pull. But moments after they got underway, smoke started rising from the lower decks of the freighter. The crew hurried to cut the tow line. They had barely pulled away when the Ourang Medan erupted. An explosion tore through her hull, and the ghost ship slipped beneath the surface, taking every secret with her. The story spread through maritime circles for years, whispered as one of the strangest disasters ever recorded. It first appeared in print in a 1948 issue of a small Dutch-Indonesian newspaper, and later in a magazine published by the United States Coast Guard. That official-sounding source gave the tale weight. If the Coast Guard was talking about it, surely it had really happened. Yet the deeper researchers dug, the stranger the mystery became. Because when they went looking for hard evidence of the Ourang Medan, they could not find it. No official registry seems to list a ship by that name. Records of the Silver Star are murky, and the exact date of the incident shifts between tellings, ranging from 1947 to 1948. Some accounts place it in the Strait of Malacca, others hundreds of miles away. This has led many historians to dismiss the whole affair as a legend, a piece of seafaring folklore that grew in the retelling. And yet the story refuses to die, because buried inside it are details too specific, too clinical, to feel entirely invented. So what could have killed an entire crew in an instant, leaving faces frozen in fear? One theory points to carbon monoxide. A smoldering fire deep in the ship could have flooded the compartments with an invisible, odorless gas, suffocating the crew before they understood what was happening. The chill the rescuers described, and the eventual explosion, could fit a fire slowly building below decks. But carbon monoxide poisoning does not usually leave bodies contorted in terror, and it does not explain the desperate final message. A darker theory emerged during the Cold War. The Ourang Medan, some claimed, was secretly carrying a lethal cargo, chemical weapons stored improperly in her hold. Substances like nitrocellulose or nerve agents, hidden from customs, could have leaked into the air. Seawater seeping into the hold might have reacted with the chemicals, releasing toxic fumes that killed the crew and later ignited, causing the fatal explosion. This would explain why the ship appeared in no honest registry. She may have been running a cargo no nation wanted to admit existed. Others reached for stranger explanations. In the decades after the sighting, the Ourang Medan became a fixture in tales of the paranormal. Some suggested the ship had drifted through something unexplainable, an encounter with the unknown that left men dead of pure fright. The wide eyes, the reaching arms, the snarling dog, all seemed to point to a terror that had no earthly cause. These stories say more about our fear of the sea than about the facts, but they capture why the legend endures. We are drawn to a horror we cannot name. The most sober researchers believe the truth lies somewhere between fact and folklore. Perhaps a real maritime tragedy did occur, the kind of accident where a hidden fire and a toxic cargo killed a crew quietly at sea. Over years of retelling, the details sharpened and darkened, the faces grew more terrified, the dog appeared, and a plane disaster became a ghost story. Or perhaps the entire thing was a cautionary tale, invented to warn sailors about the dangers of smuggling dangerous goods across the ocean. What we are left with is a mystery with no wreck to examine, no bodies to autopsy, and no confirmed record to trust. The Ourang Medan, if she ever sailed, took her answers to the bottom of the sea in a single burst of fire. All that remains is that broken message, drifting across the decades, tapped out by a dying man in a room full of the dead. Whatever he saw in those final moments, whatever crawled up from the hold to steal his crew, he never had the chance to tell us. And now, perhaps, no one ever will.